Coming up on Theater Talk.
Let me tell you how ambivalent I am on being on stage.
Okay.
Guy comes to me with a script. He says, "We want you to do this on a play on Broadway." I said, "Okay, these are the conditions. If you offer me $10 million to rehearse this for 2 days, perform it for 3 nights, and tell me it's going to be in world peace for the next 500 years," I said, "I'm going to think about it for 6 months and then probably say no."
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm the show's producer, Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
Our guest is the great American actor, well, I guess a great international actor, Alan Arkin. He's written a new book on improvised life, and he's here to talk about it. Welcome, Alan Arkin.
Thank you, Susan.
Very good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Michael.
Now, Alan.
We've been having a hell of a good time. It's going to stop now.
Exactly right. We've been having a lot of fun before the show started.
Don't quote me on this. What?
You got to get all uptight now and like.
But seriously, Susan.
That's right. The art of acting is.
As I was saying. Oh,
now,
Stanislavski.
Here's what you said. Here's what you said. You dedicated this book to everyone who wants to be the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that?
Yeah.
Well, it comes from an anecdote that comprises the introduction, where I asked, I'll shorten it, because it would take from now until
the end of the show.
The end of
yeah,
the
now
show.
we're 20 minutes.
I was having a conversation with Madeline Kahn, and I asked her what she had wanted to start. She could do everything. She was an enormous talent in the 40 different areas. So I asked her what her initial desire was, what she wanted to be, and she couldn't remember. So I kept asking, was it this, act, sing, dance, play the piano? She was a brilliant singer, great pianist. And she thought about it for a while. She said, no, she said, I used to listen to a lot of music, she says. And then she paused for a minute. She said, that's what I wanted to be. And I said, what? What was that? She said, I wanted to be the music. And it was like being hit in the head with a 2x4, because I realized that it was like a key to all of life that she had said. And she didn't even know that she had said, but it hit me in a very deep place. And I realized that of course that's what everybody wants. You don't want to listen to it or you want to do it.
Yeah.
You want to be it.
Mm-hmm. Now you say though in the book though that you had a sense of that you wanted to be an actor before you even really knew what acting was all about.
In the womb, I had made up this decision. In my own womb. And let me tell you how that works out.
Yes, you
yeah,
get sides.
Well, I can't vouch for that because I didn't sign a paper anywhere at the age of 5. I was a little kid.
Right.
What could I do? But my father says that in an anecdote he used to tell that at the age of 5 I told him to keep a secret, and he said, "What is it?" I said, "I'm going to be an actor when I grow up."
You had no idea what an actor was?
Yes, I did.
Really?
We used to go to. My father used to take me to movies a lot.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And it was the most focused I ever saw him, and the most interested in anything other than himself I ever saw him. and I thought that might be a way to get his attention. I think. I mean, that's.
So would you act out things for him, try to entertain him?
No, he didn't know. He didn't remember my name much.
Really?
Yeah.
But you said your father had wanted to be a painter and a poet, but it just never worked out.
Right.
And that sort of fueled you to have it work out, right, for yourself, right?
Well, I wasn't really aware that much when I was.
Okay.
I just knew he went away in the morning,
okay.
Came back at night and had meetings with people.
Well, what were they meeting about?
Union meetings, blah, 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 all kinds of meetings.
Do you have any memory, though, of any particular movies you saw as a kid that really...
Oh, yeah.
For example?
Read the book.
Well, for those who haven't read the book yet.
Yeah. Well, the first couple were Chaplin and Louis Hayward. Not particularly because it was him, because the Man in the Iron Mask just blew me away. Yeah. I mean, it just had made an enormous impression on me. It scared the hell out of me and resonated somewhere that for reasons that I still don't understand. And Danny Kaye, I used to stand in front of the mirror and try to make my eyes do that slanty thing he did with his eyes.
And you did the Chaplin thing, though, with the face.
I tried to get a crease in my upper lip like Chaplin did, but I could never do it. But my wife has that crease, and I sometimes wonder if I married her because no,
I love that Chaplin
looks like
crease.
she looks just like Charlie.
It's interesting, though, when you talk about acting, that you began as mimicking these actors that you liked. But one of the points in your book, though, is
I don't know if I ever did. I guess yeah, like kids do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the
I'll give you that one, Michael.
Thank you. That's very good. But one of the points in your book, and I know you're an acting teacher as well.
No, I never taught acting.
I thought
He
you.
teaches improvisational workshops.
Ah, right. Okay. But you are against this kind of narcissistic acting where the actor
I'm not
becomes
against
a
it.
personality.
I don't like it.
I was telling him the Walter Houston story. I was translating your book, that you compared Walter Houston with another Academy Award-winning actor,
Yeah.
and you were talking about
The difference
the
in
difference
approaches.
in approach.
Yeah.
Which tell us about.
Yeah, well, I saw an actor give a performance in a classic play that got him an Academy Award. And people went crazy for him. And I went to see the movie. I must have been about 14, 15, I guess. And I saw him in the movie, and I left the theater, and I was jealous and angry and depressed. And I thought I was a lousy human being. Because I see a great actor do great work, and I come out pissed off at him and depressed and angry and jealous. And then 2 weeks later, I saw Walter Houston in The Devil and Daniel Webster, and I walked out of the movie theater, and I was on air. I just felt and I said, I had the presence of mind
To figure out why.
I was interested in the way I worked and the way actors worked. So I said, well, now wait a minute. Why does one great performance, make me angry and jealous, and the other one makes me happy and feel like filled up with something? And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. I watched the performances again. I realized that the first guy was parading.
Who was the guy?
See, he's too good a human being.
Is he still alive?
No.
Well,
you can
But
tell
his
us.
kids are alive, and I know his kids. So
Laurence Olivier.
you have 2 more guesses. You have 30 seconds.
John Gielgud.
It doesn't really
okay,
matter.
yeah.
And it's only my opinion anyway.
Sure.
And I felt like he was showing me how well he talked, how clever he was, how wonderful he was a pantomime. And I felt I was given a very egotistical demonstration. Whereas when I watched Walter Houston, I felt like he was, first of all, having a great time and giving me a fully realized character that came out of his heart and soul, and it was a completely organic experience, and that gift of a human being was something that I said to myself. One of the first times I said, "That's the kind of actor I
That you want to be.
Yeah,
He
And
said
how
what
long
the-
did it take you to get to that?
about an hour.
You just threw out all the mimicking of Charlie Chaplin, and
Well, you know, I don't think anybody ever gets there all the time. I think if you're lucky, you get there sometimes. It's something to strive for, but nobody really makes that happen all the time.
Is there a performance, though, of yours that you feel that you did get there, that you felt that it
Of
was...
mine?
Yes. One that you're particularly proud of, where you thought, you know, I've created a character here and I'm not an actor doing it. It is completely natural and organic.
Well, I mean, this may sound very indelicate, but I'm pretty comfortable with about 10 things I've done. Where I don't see myself hanging out of the frame.
That's interesting, the way you put it in, yeah.
You describe in the book sometimes that we are working and that it's almost like the part is doing you, that you lose.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if that happens to you, you become a junkie for that. It's the greatest experience on the planet. And I used to think it was particularly something that actors had. I started feeling very grandiose about being an actor because I had that experience. And then I found out slowly over time that it's an experience anybody can have on the face of the earth if one is devoted enough to the arena in which you want it to happen.
Yeah, Jackson Pollock writes about the painting is doing itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that famous, you know.
Well, one thing's, you know, Little Miss Sunshine, for which you won the Oscar. Clearly, that's one of those where you didn't see yourself hanging in the frame, as you put it.
Yeah, that pretty much did itself, that part. I didn't feel like I was even there. I felt embarrassed to take my scant salary. Almost.
But you
almost embarrassed.
How about one that didn't work?
Oh, I mean, I endless numbers did.
Is there one that really haunts you though? And
there are parts of Catch-22 I'm very sad about.
why?
Because I can see myself not there.
But don't you think that wasn't your fault in the case of that movie?
Nothing is ever my fault.
It's all Mike Nichols' fault. He directed it.
No, but
That's a long story. It's a long, complicated story.
Was it because
There was so many
the movie
reasons.
just wasn't working properly when you were filming it? That you
There were a lot of reasons, but the one that some of them don't help me. If I dwell on them, they don't help me. The one that helps me is when I realized it was the first time in my entire life I played anything that was close to me, and I didn't know how to do it. Periodically, parts of the film I feel like I did, and then parts of the film I did. Like when Mike gave me the script and told me he wanted me to play the part, I read it. I had become an actor to hide. One of the reasons I didn't want to be me. I didn't want to have anything to do with me on the stage or off, particularly. So I wanted to be other people. And so when I looked at the script, I said, I don't know who is the guy? I don't know how to play him. He says, it's you.
oh.
And I found myself saying, God, it's me. Subconscious, it was not an open dialogue, but subconsciously, there is no me. How can I play somebody when I'm not? So I used to sneak into the dailies and watch to see if somebody was actually on the screen, if I actually showed up. And I feel like part of the time I did, and part of the time I'm just not. I'm not happy. Last of the Red Hot Lovers, I don't feel like I was very good at. I feel like it's a good technical performance, but I don't feel like I really invested myself with anything much.
That's interesting.
You want me to keep talking?
Yeah, you have another bad one.
My endless failures. Yeah.
Well, no, the first time I became aware of your work, I was a kid in Chicago, and you were at the Second City, and at that point, you were inventing the wheel. You were one of the people who invented that improvisational theater form, and those that you were inventing every night, these amazing parts.
It was an extraordinary experience working there. Just amazing.
Then later in your book, you write about being the kind of actor where it has to be different every time, that you don't, that every performance is different, that you don't really like. You're not the kind of actor where it can be canned. And didn't that Second City training mean so much to that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it just allowed me to open up who I was. It was the first time in my life that I felt I had any freedom to be the kind of actor I wanted to be.
So when you first found out about Second City, how did that participation come about?
It came about because I did with David Shepard, who we were talking about.
We were talking about David Shepard, yes, the unsung producer of Second City.
Yeah. But I did a summer of improv in St. Louis with him one summer, and Paul.
You were still in Mirror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sills came down and saw it because he and David knew each other.
Well, Sills,
and
right.
He said, if you ever want a job in Chicago, he said, call me. I'm starting a thing. So, thank you very much. Well, it's a fat chance. I'm not going to starve in Chicago for the rest of my life. I'm going to be a big actor in New York. So I went back to New York and starved for yet another year. And then and being completely broke and miserable, I pulled out Sills' car and I said, is that job still open? He said, yeah. So I went there grudgingly thinking that was the end of my life, that I'd be working for $100 a week in some hole in the wall. But it was better than...
And what was he doing? What was this innovative new thing they were doing?
Well, Second City, and nobody had ever heard of it. It was a brand new thing. Yeah. Nobody had ever heard of it. But I was working my craft for the first time in my life. And the minute I got there, I found friends and had a life that I wanted for 25 years. And I was like a sponge. I never left the theater except to sleep.
Was it because, as you said before, that you were not really comfortable with yourself, that you liked improv because you were creating so many different characters all the time?
No, because a lot of people in Second City just played themselves. They were fine with that. But I stank there. For the first couple of months, I couldn't get arrested. I was maudlin, or I was depressed, and I just didn't find it. I didn't find the key. And then about 2 months in, I found a character that no matter what I did as that character was funny and interesting. So I just, for the next month or so, I just hung on to that character like a life preserver. And whatever I did it as I think it was a Puerto Rican kid.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was the character?
I think it was a Puerto Rican kid was the first one. And okay, we'd like to see President of the United States. Boom, I did the Puerto Rican kid. But it worked. Well, whatever you do, it managed to work. And then with that security, I just started building up a library of characters around that. And I ended up with a library of characters that whatever scene came, I just shuffle the cards and find the character that fit into that.
Can you still do those characters after all these years?
I used to be like Peter Sellers in that, not that he never knew who he was. He was constant when he was with people. He constantly was playing characters. I used to be like that too, and I've gone the other way now. I'm so thrilled with my own persona.
You seem very genuine, I have to say.
What?
You seem pretty genuine.
Well,
Yeah.
I found I'm in my own skin now,
Yeah.
and I like it. I'm a happy guy. I have a good marriage, and
So you put that pack of characters, that pack of cards away.
yeah.
Interesting.
A quick digression back into Second City, because you talk about how it's been such an influential form, you know, that 3/4 of the comic talent
Yeah.
in this country come from it. But what do you think about what's happened to it? I mean,
I haven't been there in a couple of years, but the last time I
or
saw
no,
it,
the influence, yeah.
I'm sorry,
So
say.
the influence of, you know, how it's affected comedy, Saturday Night Live, for instance.
Well, I think it's gone both ways.
Yeah.
I think that the culture has influenced the way Second City works now too. The last time I went there which was maybe 10 years ago. I felt I was watching MTV.
Yeah.
It didn't have the depth or texture I didn't feel that we had 50 years ago. We had long scenes. We had long relationship scenes. We talked. We did stuff that was deeply involved with the politics of the times. Very, very intensely political, not scatological at all, not a lot of sexual material.
No bad words.
Almost never. And we were never censored. It just...
You didn't need them.
We didn't seem to need them. It was an extraordinary learning experience.
I'm curious about improv. It always seems, actors such as yourself, you begin there when you're young doing improv, but I don't see a lot of older actors doing improv. Is improv a young person's game?
Well, I use it all the time in movies.
You do? Yeah.
Well, not all the time. But my sense is that in the past 20, 30, 35 years, you used to have writers writing movies.
Mm-hmm. Pat Chayefsky, for example.
Yeah, people who understood and cared about character and language. Now you have architects and engineers writing movies. People, they understand the text, the thrust and texture of the script and direction the script's got to go. And you have two characters. You have the guy and the girl, and you have 50 Phil. I don't like. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you see the Frank Capra movies, every character that comes in for a second is a memorable human being, and that doesn't happen anymore. You get the guy and the girl, and maybe he's the bad guy you remember.
And the noisy fat friend.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of Phil, and I don't. I'm
Phil.
not the guy, so and I don't want to be Phil. So people are used to the fact that I say I like the part, good script, but the character I feel needs blah 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 blah. If I can come in and do this and that, then I'll play the part, which I say beforehand. And I saw it in about at least half the movies I've done. I've come in and changed half or 2/3 of my dialogue, making sure that I can tap dance around other people's stuff so I don't screw them up.
yeah, I was going to ask you, that must be tricky because the other actors may not be into the improv thing and want to stick to what's been written for them.
Yeah, but I mean, one of the most exciting things that ever happened to me was I had the great privilege of working 2 years with Sidney Lumet, who I ended up, I loved him before I worked with him, and I love him now. He's a consummate director and a gentleman and a lovely person, honest. And I said, I'll do a series. It was a series. I didn't want to do a series because after 3 weeks they start degenerating. Unless you become a raving lunatic and start taking drugs, so you write 24 hours a day to keep your interest going. And I said, I can do it. I said, but I want to be able to play with the dialogue because I don't feel like the writers are going to have as keen sense of what the character needs as I do. He said, gee, Alan, he says, if I let you do it, I'll have to let everybody do it. I can't say yes. So I needed to work, and I wanted to work with him, and it was a great character. And as my prediction got, they stopped being able to write the guy. And
What was the movie?
What was the series?
it was a series called 100 Center Street.
Yes, yes, of course, yeah.
And as time went on, he started trusting me more and more. And I'd go, after like 3 months, I say, Sidney, this line, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And after 4 months, I say, Sidney, these 6 lines. By the end of the first season, I came to him, I said, Sidney, this speech, I got a 5-minute monologue here. 5-minute monologue. I said, it stinks. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to take it in this, you got to do it. So, and I wouldn't even have to write it down to show him. He just let me improvise 5-minute monologue.
And
that's why-
just on camera, you would do it.
And that's why it was so good, yeah.
Yeah, but by that time, I knew the character really well.
Right, right.
And he knew me really well, and it was fine. And by the end of the first year, he said, what do you want to do the next year? He said, what direction do you want the character to go? Have you got an idea? And I had been thinking about it for a month, and I said, yeah, I know. And I told him, and he said, my best friend came in and wrote my arc for the second year.
You start to get writing credit for this now if you're creating?
No.
You have worked on Broadway, you have worked in the theater, but you seem ambivalent about your experience on Broadway.
Yeah. Let me tell you how ambivalent I am on being on stage.
Okay.
Guy comes to me with a script. He says, we want you to do this on a play on Broadway. I said, okay, these are the conditions. If you offer me $10 million to rehearse this for 2 days, perform it for 3 nights, and tell me it's going to be in world peace for the next 500 years, I said, I'm going to think about it for 6 months and then probably say no.
Why?
Now, what part
What's your
you were this,
reluctance
yes.
to Broadway, to theater?
I think Broadway's wonderful. I just don't want to be on it.
Why?
Yes, do the same thing over and over. You reach 3 months into the run, and you say to the guy you're working with, did you see me? Did you see what I did tonight? I winked my left eye instead of the right eye. I said, get the hell out of here. I walked faster tonight to the table. The idea of doing so, it's like bad karma. It's like living a lifetime over and over and over again that you didn't get to work. It didn't work the first time, so you got to do it over and over. It just feels it's like a nightmare to me.
Because you must be offered a lot of plays over the years. People wanting you to.
I don't know. I told my agent, I said, don't show them. I'm not doing it, no matter how good it is.
How about directing plays? Because you directed the original production of The
Directed a
Sunshine
play,
Boys.
you have to sit in the dark for a month. No windows. You have to sit there and watch actors stumbling over lines. If it was a really good play and I got offered it, I might direct again. Broadway and I don't seem to agree with directing very much. I had a string of hits directing off Broadway, and almost nothing I ever directed on Broadway.
Well, you did The Sunshine Boys.
That was the only one. Everything else.
That's pretty great.
That was a big one, though, The Sunshine Boys.
Yeah, that was,
And you started Enter Laughing
Yeah.
when you first became a star. And
yeah.
you didn't enjoy that? No.
No, because I wanted stage to hide. I wanted to be other people, and they put my name above the title, and I walked on stage, and people started going this, and I said, "Craig," I said, "God, I'm here. How can I get out of being here?" So it just threw me for a loop.
Well, you talk a little bit about fame in the book, though. I mean, there was a period in your life when the movies you were doing were very successful. It was a period where you realized suddenly that you were a famous actor, and people were looking at you when you walked down the street.
Not that much.
No.
No, my wife says people notice me a lot, and they leave me alone. I guess I must have that terrifying aspect to my personality. I have no sense of. I'm happiest when people don't know who I am.
And I guess that also comes from the fact that you like to play parts that are not you.
Not anymore.
You don't want to be.
Not anymore. That's changed completely. I've gone from there to here. Now I don't want to play anything but me, and I want to play me when I'm happy.
Well, the book is a delight, Alan Arkin, An Improvised Life.
And we have
a memoir.
Yes, because it's a memoir, but also
you're
talking about. Let me.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a memoir.
She's trying to say something, Michael.
About the book I read. All right, it's a memoir, but also a significant portion is devoted to you talking about improvisation techniques, workshop techniques.
It's about
quite wonderful.
I mean, I didn't. While I was writing it, it was an improvisation. I didn't know what it was about or how I was going to come out or who I was. But I'm still alive, so I guess the hero is still What am I trying to say?
It wasn't posthumously
But
published.
it's full of bons mots, and it's kind of a self-help book, and it's all these things.
My biggest hope is that people realize that craft can be used to enhance your life and not the other way around. That's if I get through to one person, it'll be fine with me.
And it can be, it doesn't matter what your profession is. If you have the craft of that profession, that can help
and
you.
that there's no such thing as separating. You can think you're separating pieces of your life, and all it does is make you sick and crazy.
And then you wind up on Broadway, where you're deeply unhappy.
Yeah, and people think you're a genius because you portray sick and crazy well.
The book is called Alan Arkin, An Improvised Life, a memoir from the Capitol Press. Alan Arkin, it's been a treat to talk to you today.
And you too.
Thanks for being our guest.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.